Page 197. I'll read Maran again, and then we'll read the notes in the bottom. Ma'im miluchim, salt water. Or suchim, or pungent, smelly water. Or marim, or bitter water. She'en hakelev yichol lishtot mehen, that a dog cannot drink from. Psulim netilat yadayim, they are pasul, to be used for washing your hands. Af al pi sheksharim lemei mikveh l'tfilah, but they are kosher to be used in a mikveh. So you could stick your hands, remember, in that water, if there's enough water to be considered a mikveh, but you cannot take water out in a cup and use that water to pour your hands. I mean, the laws of washing your hands is stricter than the laws of immersing inside of a mikveh. Ve'im hem achurim mechmat tit shnitarev behem, and if they are dirty because of mud that has been mixed in the water, im hakelev yichol lishtot mehem, if a dog can drink from this muddy water, ksherim, it's kosher. Ben netilat yadayim, whether you're doing netilat yadayim, washing your hands, ben the mikveh, or whether you're doing it for a mikveh. But if you can't drink from that, the dog can't drink from that water, then you can't even use it for a mikveh. So now I want to take a few practical examples that come out of here. Let's look at them under the two lines of 197. Ma'im, water, she'inam re'uim nishtiyat behema, that are not fit to be drunk by an animal. Notice that ma'im is plural. You don't think of water, but ma'im literally means waters. Ma'im she'inam re'uim nishtiyat behema, water that is not fit for animal consumption. Psulim netilat yadayim, are also not fit to be used for hand washing. Umikol makom, but in any case, im hem mei mikveh, if they're mikveh water, v'yesh behem 40 se'ah, and we have the 40 se'ah measurement of water there. Ksharim lahadbil mehem et hayadayim, it is permitted to immerse your hands inside of this. There's an argument here. Maran says even though they're not kosher for washing your hands, they are kosher for a mikveh. Some want to say that Maran means you can't even immerse your hands in there because he says it's not kosher for netilat yadayim, but it is kosher for a mikveh. We said before that the Tveria hot springs, that you can't take the water out and wash your hands with them, but you can immerse your hands inside of the water. And we're reading that halakha here.
So also
to mean the
Dead
same
Sea
thing.
in Yam HaMelech?
Well, we're going to talk about the ocean. Just
Really?
So there are poskim that want to say Maran here says you can't do netilat yadayim in any way, in any form. But really we seem to understand this as you cannot do netilat yadayim and you cannot take water out with a cup and then pour it on your hands, but you can immerse your hands in there just like you could immerse your whole body in there as well. Ve'af li'inyan nadbil behem et hayadayim, but even in regards to dipping your hands in the water. En lahakel, we're in 197. En lahakel ela dafka im otam mayim she'enam re'uyim nishat behema hem sunim. You can only be lenient if that water is clear. Ela she'enam re'uyim nishat machma she'em meluchim o suchim umarim. And the only reason you can't drink them are because they smell or they're bitter. But if they're also not fit for an animal to drink and they're dirty, like the water with the mud, then you can't even dip your hands in there. And even b'diavad, after the fact, if you dipped your hand inside muddy water, you have to do netilat yadayim again with the blessing.
Not really. He's just adding a little more detail to what
Maran already said. Correct.
because
On
I
page
thought you
one-
said there was no argument.
Right, no, not yet.
Oh, not yet. Getting there.
No, the argument was whether you can dip your hands in this water or not. But we rule not that you can. $199. If the water is dirty because dirt found it or mud is there. Teeth is mud or is tar? And what do they translate over there, Jack? Teeth.
Okay, what number is this, 8 or 9?
It's halakha 9.
9, yeah. So water that's salty has a foul odor.
Yeah, and the next sentence.
If it's cloudy,
Yeah.
as a result of clay, that is
Clay, okay, oh yeah, mud, yeah. Meaning, so if the dirt is there or the clay is there, if the water is dirty because of this, ולאחר זמן מועט חוזרים למראה מים מחמת שהעפר והטיט שוקעים בתוכם. But if you see that after a few minutes, all that settles, that dirt settles and the water goes back to being clear. This is the case in many places. Some places the water is perpetually dirt. I'll tell you where I saw that. In Washington State, in Mount St. Helena, or St. Olympus. It's a volcanic ash inside of the water.
St. Helens.
It's St. Helens, right? It's quicksand. So even though technically that's water, but that water never clears. It doesn't settle. It's dirt.
It floats around forever.
Right. And that's not the same as, let's say you're in a lake and you jump it in the water and then all the
Yes.
dust goes and then give it 5 minutes and
Settle.
it'll settle. Those are two different cases. And that's what he's saying. In that situation where it settles, והם ראויים לשתיית בהמה, and an animal could drink from there, כשרים אפילו ליטול בהם על ידי כלי. You can even take that water and pour it on your hands in a cup. ואפילו, listen carefully, ואפילו קודם שיחזרו למראיהם הראשון. And this is even before it goes back to being clear. Meaning, as long as it's muddy, but you know this is the kind of mud that will settle, you can use the muddy water to wash your hands.
So is it the sight or is it the fact that the animal will or not drink it? In other words, do you look at the water and make a determination, or do you test it by bringing an animal?
It seems to be a combination of both. This could be many things. It could be, remember that example yesterday of fruit punch? You pour the fruit punch in. Now, there's sometimes you put enough food coloring in that mikveh that it will always be red. And there's sometimes you fruit punch. Right now, this part of the mikveh is red, but give it 20 minutes and it gets mixed in there and it goes to the. It's not going to be red anymore. It could be that water would be in the same category as here. That if the look changed, but only temporarily, then it's not the same halakha.
Yeah, it has to be reasonable because at some point you're going to have that question like we have with the those ladies saying like, oh, how can we eat that? How can we tovel in the ocean
because the lobster,
because the
right.
lobster lives there?
Right.
You know, so that's it.
Right.
Not too clean.
Yeah.
Then one of the next sentence is come to answer a question. So I take out a cup of water. In my cup of water, there's only a revi'it. The revi'it is how much is the minimum amount of water that I need. Not this cup. It's the minimum amount of water that I need in order to wash my hands. 3.5 ounces. What happens is from that revi'it, it's partially mud. It's not all water. So do I have enough water in that cup to do Netilat Yadayim with? Or because it's 3.1 ounces water and 0.4 ounces mud, then I don't have enough water in this cup to do Netilat Yadayim? He quotes a book called the Pri Megadim that says, "Va'afilu en behem revi'it ela b'tziruf hatit ha'me'orav behem." Even if the revi'it includes the mud that's inside of them, it's still considered 3.5 ounces of water. It's an interesting chidush, and it comes from the Talmud in Zvachim. That's where the Pri Megadim gets it from. But it's like always the question when they say it has to be an egg amount. Is it including the shell or not including the shell? When it's the size of an olive, is it including the pit or not including the pit? So here's saying, when you take 3.5 ounces of water, is it including the mud or not including the mud? Here's saying the mud counts. Relax. So it's going to be okay. Which is interesting because you might not think to say that.
No.
I guess we're also assuming the mud is a small percentage.
Correct, but here you're already using your bare minimum amount. Right, here's a more practical case for us who live in San Diego. You're at La Jolla Shore, La Jolla Cove, you're at the beach, I mean, you're somewhere in a nice sunny area of town. All these people watching in New York are suffering from the cold. And someone sent me a message that said, "You must pray for all the citizens of New York." Nothing happened, they just live in New York. You know, like, I have to feel bad at a certain point in time. You're sitting on the beach and you forgot to bring water to wash your hands with. Is the water of the ocean kasher for Netilat Yadayim? We just read that salt water you can't wash your hands with.
But you can dip them in. It's
Oh, very good. So here, let's read. Netilat Yadayim, washing your hands, b'mei yam, with the waters of the ocean. Kafchet, on page 199. Mei yam shem meluchim, ocean water which is salty. Why is it saying ocean water which is salty as opposed to what? Ocean water that is sweet?
I don't know. It's not ocean water.
Brackish water, maybe?
Yam is really the same word for a sea. And therefore it could be, the Kinneret is fresh water, but it's also called a yam in Hebrew.
Is
Yeah,
it?
Yam
So,
HaMelech, too.
so
Dead Sea.
Yam HaMelech has the Dead Sea.
It's actually the salt sea.
But it's
For
not
example,
saltwater.
it could be that if the Chachamim were to see the Great Lakes, they would call them a yam, because a lake
can't
is
see
a
the end
much
of it.
smaller body of water than is. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm assuming the Great
Than
Lakes
the
are greater
ocean.
than our Kinneret, no?
They're huge.
Huge,
Well,
right?
yeah.
So
You can't see to
then,
the other side.
if the Kinneret is an ocean, then for a sea, it's not an ocean. I mean, it's not the right word, but a yam. So he has to be careful when he says the word yam to make sure I'm talking about salt water yam, because there are freshwater yams also. Me yam shem luchim, salt water that comes from a sea. Psulim v'tilat yadayim al kli. They're pasul to be used inside of a kli, inside of a cup for nitilat yadayim. So you can't go to the shore and pick up your washing cup, fill it up with beach water, sea water, and wash your hands. Aval, like we both said, mutar lat bilmem yadav. You're allowed to immerse your hands in there. Uchdin mei mikveh v'chamei tvelia shu mutar lat bilmem yadav. And it's just like the mikveh or the hot springs of Tvelia, that you're able to immerse your hands in there, but you're not allowed to take them out with the cup.
So that means you can't say a bracha, or you can.
You can.
So
Oh, that's a good question. So which bracha do you say when you immerse?
yeah,
them?
yeah.
Did we discuss this already? We said we were going to discuss this. Do you remember?
I don't remember.
I don't
I
know.
don't
think
think we
it came
discussed it.
up, but I don't remember it.
We didn't we didn't really discuss it. At least when I was here.
I feel like. Did the camera just turn on?
It's on. Oh, no. Oops.
Turn off.
I feel like we did this already. Okay, I'll find it for you for the next class. ומי שאין לו אלא מי ים. Sorry, I didn't. ואם הרתיחו את מי הים. And if they boiled the ocean water.
It doesn't take out the salt, does it?
Unless you distill it.
כשרים נתינת ידיים אפילו לידי כלי, they're כשר to be used even through a cup. מפני שמחמת כן פגם בריאות המים ורואים בשעת בהמה. It lessens the intensity of the water's flavor, and an animal can drink from it. I don't know what they mean by boiling water. My feeling is that might be a way to purify it. I mean, they had a way to purify ocean water by boiling it. Maybe
But you'd
maybe
have to
boiling it down to a salt and catching the evaporation. I don't know exactly what
that's
it is
how
that
would
they're
have to
doing.
be. It's a special
Water
method.
left.
What they're telling you though is important in the halakha, because what would we do with treated ocean water that became fresh water?
Hmm.
This is something that the world is thinking about very much. In Israel and
Yeah.
here in California, there's water shortages, and the ocean is a great source of water, but it's salty. But there's a way to desalinate water. So,
Right.
question is, when we get rid of the salt from the ocean water, is that considered ocean water that you cannot wash your hands with? Or now that it's fresh, it got a new status in halakha? And the answer is it's new water. The only reason why ocean water is not allowed is because an animal wouldn't drink from it.
Right. So if
But once an animal can drink from it, then it becomes kasher water for that.
Do like filtering or boiling or something?
I mean, this is a very
Distillation.
logical halakha.
Yeah.
There's no special stat. Just like the chamei tvelia, we said the reason why the Tveria hot springs are not allowed, you can't use them for hand washing, is because they're sulfurous waters and nothing would drink from it. But if you find hot springs that are also fresh water, there's no law against hot springs. It's a law against water that you cannot drink. What if you're in a situation where you only have ocean water? And you have no way to dip your hands in them.
You're on the
For
ship,
example, you're on a ship. That's the example he
high
gives.
up on a ship.
You're on a ship, which is higher than the water. And you don't have any way to treat this water. You should wash your hands with ocean water without a blessing. And you should do what we mentioned earlier, which is to wrap your hands with gloves or with a scarf or something. Because really you're not supposed to eat bread wrapping your hands, but you do that in a case where you don't have water. Here you have water, but it's not necessarily kosher water. So he's suggesting to do two chumrot at the same time. I don't know if that's the real halakha, but he's suggesting two chumrot. First being wash without a blessing using water that's not kasher to be used, and then cover your hands in such a way that you could eat bread as if you didn't have water, because maybe that water didn't count for anything.
It's weird.
It is a weird halakha, I'll be honest.
A double chum.
And his quote is himself, meaning this is his interpretation of halakha. He says that he explains it in the back of the book. Let's see first. He talks about buve water back here, like
What kind of
we call it Hebrew buve. What do they call it in English?
View?
Yeah, buve. You know what buve? May buve.
Maybe.
Toilet water. What do you call the
Benekisu?
plumbing water? What do you call the water?
Sewage.
Sewage. Very good. That's the
Sewage,
Hebrew word
yeah.
for
Oh.
sewage.
Gray water.
There are plants that treat this water.
White water.
So he says something very interesting. He says that treated sewage is not the same as treated ocean water, because sewage is in the status of water which work was done with them. And we said that water which work was done with it, there's nothing you can do about it. So it's there. It's not a problem of being drinkable. It's a problem that this was used already for something. But there are plants that they flush this after they sanitize the water. It goes through pipes. It goes in the earth. It goes all kinds of places, and then it comes out. At a certain point, he says you can't. Every water might have started somewhere, and this is already considered new water. It already went in the dirt. It was already evaporated again. It was already rain. It's already a different story. But there, he makes a difference between ocean water and sewage. But I don't see where he's talking about.
So hook up a drinking faucet to the toilet.
What?
Straight from the tap.
Straight from the tap.
No,
There's a museum actually has that.
He talks about it too much. Maybe there's like 5 pages of sources. So if I have time to go through them and come with a conclusion, I'll tell you.
I'm just curious to know if this animal bit is taken literally or if it's just like what was done then. Because, I mean...
We don't take it to an animal to test it.
Yeah, no, but I mean, how many times have you seen a pet dog take a drink from the toilet bowl?
Toilet bowl water is clean, technically. It's clean enough that a dog would drink it. That's why he doesn't say. That's why he doesn't say water that a human would drink.
Right.
Because if that was the case, any traveler would never find water that they could feel comfortable drinking.
Yeah.
But a dog would drink from a lake that's wormy or whatever. But we might feel grossed out by that.
Well, you're not
So
gonna,
halakha is trying to give you a standard of
But
water that you might not drink, but is still good enough to use
for a
hand washing.
mikveh. For a mikveh.
Yeah, for a mikveh.
Yeah, so you're going to go into a mikveh with toilet water.
That's similar to the
No, toilet water doesn't count for a mikveh.
It's similar to the chametz that a dog
Okay.
wouldn't eat. It's used for medicine.
Right, it's the same thing exactly.
And is the dog like the standard measure?
Don't hold
for
back.
these things?
Tell the problem. What's bothering you about this halakha?
There's 2 levels. One is the water used for washing, and one is the level used for a mikveh. The mikveh water is less of a stringent standard, right?
And hand water, correct?
Yeah. So, in ocean water, you could use ocean water for a mikveh?
Yes.
But
can use
how about toilet water?
No.
Okay,
Are you disappointed, Jack?
just want to understand it.
No, yeah, you got what you need to know?
Yeah,
Okay.
Are you disappointed that you can't use the toilet for
easy, yeah.
mikveh?
It's okay.
Oh, we took the Glitz girls camping this summer up in Mount Palomar. Not Palomar.
Quimaka?
Yeah, much.
We went to a few places, so I don't remember which one is
Palomar?
going.
Valerie,
No.
Julian.
What?
Your parents like to go to Quimaka. Probably it's Quimaka.
There's a lake there at Cuyamaca.
Wait, Quebec.
No, the lake there that's near there is called. This
Jennings.
summer there was
There's a
a
Lake Jennings up there
there
too.
was a motorcycle crash near Julian somewhere.
Jennings.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Cuyamaca.
No,
That's-
it wasn't. Maybe it was Kuyamaka. Yeah, you're right. It was
Yeah.
like Kuyamaka. Correct.
That's near Julian.
But we were away from a little farther because we were doing some activities away from there. And we're setting up camp and tents and everything else, and I hear this beautiful waterfall. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a waterfall on the campsite. And I'm walking and I'm looking and I'm passing by things and trees, and I'm not an explorer by my nature. And finally, I find the waterfall. There's a sewage sanitation plant that's over there sitting on the park site. And it's a big lake that's like food coloring colored blue with like a crazy blue color. It's not the kind you find in the porta potties, this color?
Right.
And in the middle there's this huge fountain that is spraying it up in the air and then back. I don't know why they're doing that. Like that's part of the... It
Aeration.
gets sprayed up and it falls back in it, and it sounds like a beautiful waterfall until you look and then you smell.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my gosh, this is gross.
And a state
So I
park.
can't imagine someone like, oh, I need a mikveh, let's go run in
Yeah.
there. Like that wasn't the...
Yeah, that
It's
is
a state park.
It's in a state park. Definitely it was. I even took pictures of
A
it.
turn off.
It was very strange. They put a little bit of like fake green plants so you wouldn't see it, but it's a big thing. It's not a little operation.
Weird.
If I'm not mistaken, you can even bring like your RVs to dump stuff there. It's also part of that. It's like a service,
Septic pond.
Yeah, it was actually called a septic pond. But it was a big septic pond, and it was not the natural waterfall I thought I found. Nitilat yadayim.
Follow your nose, not your ears next time. Yeah. So.
your nose.
Poor people there. People that camp on that. Like there's a fence around it, but there are people who their tents are right up against that fence.
They're assigned
And that's
number
their
3.
spot. Like that's what they get. נטילת ידיים במים שעברו תהליך התפלה וזיקוק. Water that went through a purification process. What is the halakha? That's what we're talking about right now. כ"ט לאור האמור בסעיף הקודם, based on what we've said up until now. שמי הים שהרתיחו מותר ליטול ידיים מהם על ידי כלי. That you can use ocean water in a cup once it has been desalinated. נראה שהוא הדין למה שהמציאו בדור האחרון. It seems that a similar halakha would be that what they invented in the last generation. שלוקחים מי ים ומים אחרים שאינם ראויים לשתייה. They take ocean water or other undrinkable water. ומעבירים אותם תהליך התפלה וזיקוק עד שהם ראויים לשתיית בהמה. And they clean them to the point where at least an animal could drink from them. פעמים שהם ראויים אף שתיית אדם. Sometimes they even clean them to the point where humans can drink from them. וכשרים מים אלו לנטילת ידיים על ידי כלי ואפילו חתיכה. That he says he believes that this is similar to the water that's been boiled from the ocean, that you could use it inside of a cup and do netilat yadayim with it. It doesn't only have to be in a mikveh setting. ומכל מקום, but in any case, מי ביוב, sewage water, ומי שופכין, שעברו תהליך התפלה וזיקוק שהם רואים על כל פנים משתיית בהמה, sewage water that has been purified to the point where animals could drink it, יש להחמיר שלא ליטול בהם ידיים. One should be stringent not to wash their hands with it, because the problem with that water is not, like I said, the animal not drinking from it. It's because an action has already been done with this water. Because this is water that has already been used for something else. That was their first
That might be a
halakha.
problem for San Diego because they're going to start doing that for all of water here.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So like
What do you mean?
Well,
Sewage water.
they're going to start using water that's worked, so to speak. There'll be some mix of like refined, purified sewage water
Yeah.
that came back in and mixed with your regular water. So that means like if we were grabbing our Nitlat Yadayim,
It'll be potable.
all the Jews in this.
It'll be potable water. You'll be able to drink it.
Yeah, but it will have been through, because you're saying even if it's gone through any work, even if it's been fully purified, it's still a problem, right?
Great. So we get fluoride and sewage together. This is wonderful.
Yeah.
Great.
Bottled water's good enough.
That's very interesting. That actually will pose a problem. And over there, I did see conversations here about bitul, how much water versus how much water when they mix them.
Oh, I
There
see.
are such conversations.
It's like with the mikveh. How
That's
much
going to be a
is
problem
rainwater?
because Israel recycles a lot of water.
Oh yeah, most of the agriculture is recycled water now
Yeah.
in Israel.
I believe
And
that's
they
why
have
in the
8
back when I looked,
desalinization
that's why he
plants.
made this. That's why he made this rule about if the water already like went back into circulation elsewhere, and then it comes to you, that's enough to consider it new water. Meaning, how long does that title sewage water work?
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what he's talking about.
Well, that's what it would be like in San Diego. It would be recycled and redistributed. As if it were new water. after I went through that beautiful smelly lake for probably, I don't know how many days it goes through. There was a kibbutz near a lot, and they had like 5 lakes, and they're all in different processes of filtering the water.
Interesting. Okay, well, yeah, I'm going to talk about this actually more, and Jack is going to talk more about your toilet water.
Yeah.
In just a second, because I'm going to do the footnote. I'm going to have to read the next halakha. Mayim shnifsadu l'shtiyat bnei adam, and lamed. Water that has been unable to be people can't drink it. Why? Because they have some kind of germs or parasites or something in that water. But animals would drink from that water. You're able to use that water even in the It's an interesting thing to watch what animals will eat and not eat. You know, when we had a cat, there's some things we'll give a cat, will never touch it. We'll look at you like you're crazy. And we eat that stuff all the time. I mean, it's telling you that I know, my body knows I shouldn't be touching that stuff. You find it with ants.
Yeah.
I told you, ants will never touch a candy that has aspartame in it or any of these. They know, they walk around it. You'll see that they don't even get near there. You talk about a bird. I have a bird. There are even things that my bird doesn't like sweet things. And it knows what's sweet without even tasting it. I don't eat that. It's an unbelievable thing. I think human beings, like, we have to read books about what we're allowed to eat and not allowed to eat.
Have to retrain.
A lot of books.
There's a certain chush, like a certain instinct we're missing in this regard.
Yeah.
And there's things that we wouldn't drink that an animal would drink. It could be that some animals are tougher than we are. Their stomachs are able to handle things we're
You
not
open
able
up a
to.
can of food, a fly won't go in.
Yeah,
Yeah, canned food they won't eat.
there you have it.
Flies won't eat canned food?
Are you sure?
Open up a can of
Let's
beans.
do an experiment, Phil. I won't eat a can of beans either.
I don't know, I eat Trader Joe's organic canned beans.
Okay. Well, then we have proof that
And the
you're not a fly.
How
But the
about
flies are still buzzing around my house. I
get
don't
a
know
can of
what's in that.
Spam and see what happens.
Oh yeah, kid is spam.
Spam? It's in the computer. Okay.
Before I read through the footnote, let's go to page 200 on the top of the page. This next halakha, I'm going to love for Jack to help us with some English words, because I know how I translate it, but I love to see what they do.
You'd,
What's the source of your translation, Jack? Again, I know
Source?
you used to get a few years, but
you know, I did this so long ago, I don't remember.
ShulchanAruch.com, I think is where you got it.
I can check though.
Raw.
They spelled it wrong. I don't know why.
probably someone else had the domain
Oh,
name.
that
for
could
the
be.
other
That's
one.
right.
I don't know, I'll have to check.
Maran writes, Notlim liyadayim, you can wash your hands, bechol davar, with anything, shetchilato min hamayim, that originally began in water.
Right.
Began in water. Min-
Kagon yav chushim, like yav chushim,
For worms.
pirush tolaim, worms, adumim, red worms, special kind of red worms.
It says red worms, yeah.
O shuman dag, or fish oil.
Fish oil, right.
Hagas, says the Ramam, you can't take a bucket of worms and wash your hands with it. Dafka im raskan, you have to actually blend them up, crush them up. Dila adif yemishele, because that's no different than snow.
That's what Rama said. That's
I
right.
think there's a lot of difference between
No, I've
crushed
eaten
worms and
plenty of snow.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, I think there's a little bit
Yellow
different in
snow.
snow and worms, crushed worms.
Well, not only that, but he says it's logical that this is limited to where one ground them up since
Yeah.
they're no better than
Doesn't-
snow.
yeah, that logic is pretty.
Yeah, I prefer my crushed worms sauteed with a little butter.
It's,
Okay, you
Let's
have to
tackle
help us out here.
Let's
yeah.
tackle the footnote on this one.
There's
go to
water
page
and there's
199.
worm water.
Better go in footnote for sure.
Yes, when you go visit Maran in the next world and he offers you Kool-Aid, you say no thanks. Don't even drink the water because you don't know where it's been.
I'll just get that tequila with the worm in it.
Ayen le'el b'Shaar HaTzion. Look above in the Shaar HaTzion. Okay. B'Shem Talmidei Rabbeinu Yonah. The name of the students of Rabbeinu Yonah of. I told you last night where Rabbeinu Yonah is from. Girondi.
You're wondering.
So the students of Rabbi Yonatan write, "Shekatav b'din ma'ayanot chamim." He talks about hot springs, fresh hot springs, not sulfur hot springs. Deshare litol behem kol shechol adam shatan yedei adachat. That you're able to wash your hands with the water from the hot springs so long as a person could drink from them if they were very thirsty.
There are a lot of hot springs. The ones, desert hot springs here, you can drink it and bathe in it.
Is it too hot to drink?
At the source it is.
Right, so that's what he's talking about. V'abet Yosef in Maran, page 200 in the right column. Tamalze, he is surprised about this. Sharei hakol talui b'shtat behema. Everything is dependent on an animal drinking it. Uchmo she'yavar laharan b'samuch, like we'll explain soon. וכתב לבאר דסביר עלי לרבנו יונה דוודאי בשתיית אדם תגיא מילתא. And he says, Rabbeinu Yona's opinion is that we don't care what animals drink and don't drink, we care what human beings will drink if they had no choice. ומה שתלו אותם בשתיית בהמה, and that which they use the language that an animal would drink from the water, הוא משום שכל שלא נפסלו משתיית בהמה, אדם יכול לשתותן על ידי הדחק. Because anything that an animal would drink, a human being could drink if they had no choice. So what he's saying is, human beings' non-preferred drink is the same as something that an animal would drink. Those are the same thing. They're both just calling it different words. A person may not drink from the trough where the horse's water goes, but if he has no choice and he's locked in the barn and he's thirsty, he'll drink from that water. That's not the case with other things. And at the end of the day, a human being and an animal won't drink from water that's putrid, or water that's dangerous, or water that's, yeah. וכן הסכימו האחרונים, and the אחרונים agree. ואף בנידוננו, and even in our case, הרי מצד עצם המים בוודאי שיכולה הבהמה לשתותם. And this water that has germs in it, or parasites in it, a person could drink it. ומה שאינו שותה אותם הוא משום חשש סכנת בריאות. And the only reason he doesn't drink it is not because he's not able to drink it, because it's dangerous to drink it. וזה פשוט and simple. So what he's saying is that water that has some kind of infection in it or a problem in it, that technically you could drink it. What is could? Meaning it could go through your throat and drink it. The reason you're holding back is because there's a big sign that says, hey, danger, don't drink this water. That's not enough to make that water not able to be used for Netilat Yadayim. Just because you wouldn't drink it is not the same as you can't drink it.
I'm curious to know at what point in medical history, maybe Zev knows, that people knew that infections would come from drinking dirty water.
Oh gosh, there's a whole famous thing about that in England where they prove that the bubonic plague or some it's a famous case in England where they were able to prove by the wells. They plotted all the graphics, like, you know, they'd have Google Maps. They plotted all the wells out, and they were able to tell, like, all the outbreaks took place near these city wells.
Well, we have halachot going for a long time about filtering out water from worms and those kind of things, and things that were gross. Dangerous?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, they would find carcasses of animals around poisonous water. That's for sure.
They would know that.
Wild. You would
It's a
see
good thing.
bones or
Jack, you
carcasses.
find yourself a research project.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, we'll see.
Please share with us what you find.
Yeah, sure.
ועיין בשו"ת ויען אברהם למערב פלאג'י, go look in the book יען אברהם פלאג'י, שכתב להקל ליטול ידיים במים שיש בהם תולעים, that he writes that you can wash your hands with warmy water, כל שאין חשש שמא יתרסקו על ידיו ויבוא לאוכלם. So long as there's no fear that when you wash your hands with warmy water, that they'll disintegrate onto your hands and you'll end up eating them with your food.
So you put them in a blender.
Because really, you're washing your hands and then you're going straight to eat your sandwich. So you have to make sure that this water, those worms are not so soft that if they hit your hands, they're going to fall apart.
Yeah.
And then your hands are going to be wormy hands. Who wants a sandwich?
We sponsored Kiddush.
Gotta start selling that in Whole Foods, worm water.
Well, they already
New
get,
health drink.
They already get crickets at Sprouts. So.
It's called knockwormist.
Then they have to get the bottled water dewormed.
כתב מרן השולחן ערוך, מרן writes what we just read, שנוטלים לידיים בכל דבר שתחילתו מן המים. That you could wash your hands with anything that began in the water, כגון יבחושים אדומים, like red worms or שומן דג or fish oil. ומקור הדברים באור זרוע, and the source of his teaching is in the אור זרוע, ובהגות אשרי, והובאו דברי הגות אשרי בבית יוסף, and Maran quotes the הגות אשרי in the בית יוסף, וכתב בבית יוסף שכן הוא בזבחים, Maran writes it also in Zvachim, it says the same thing, וששם איתה דהו הדין בעינו של דג. And the Gemara in Zvachim says also you could use the eyes of the fish. If you crush up fish eyes, you could use that to wash your hands.
Isn't there something about a reach ra when you're doing a mitzvah?
Fish, but a lot of people...
Eyes?
I have a friend, he lived in Europe on the ocean, like the bay, the harbor area. And whenever we passed these fish stores in Jerusalem, gross smell. He would go stand in the doorway and smell. Reminds me of my mother. Don't tell your mother that, you know, like, yeah.
There's
Why?
something fishy
Why they
about
choose the eye fish?
Fish
Why we didn't choose something
Reminds me
more
of your
simple
mother.
and more
Smells like a rotten fish.
common, which will be fruit?
Fruit.
Yes. Why
Because
would
they
they choose?
consider these two things to be coming from the ocean. And again, like I told you last night, you have to look into their science and what is it exactly that they're thinking. What is a red worm versus a brown worm? And what's the difference in those things? I'm not sure. But a fish comes from the ocean or the river or the lake, so a fish is really just part of the water.
Water.
Plus, our wettest fruit that I think we discussed in the Talmud is probably the fig, which isn't that wet, right? It's kind of a dry
Well,
fruit.
they talk
It's-
about
they talk about-
squash. Fruits, you're saying?
We don't have like tapuz. We don't hear about tapuz.
No,
Is
you hear about
tapuz into-
avatichim,
Oh,
melons.
Yeah, melons, right?
But
that could be
but
wet.
some
Yeah.
translate those as squash. Depends how you
Mm.
identify that fruit.
Mm.
This
You're
is probably
saying-
fruit of trees. Yeah, you're right, a fig, if you squeeze it, there's not a lot of
Mhm.
juice in it. I mean, pomegranates, that's got a lot of juice. Or
Oh, yeah, pomegranate.
citrus.
Yeah, but it's not juicy when you're holding it, or it's dry until you squish it.
Yeah, true.
Right.
Or fig tends to be pretty squishy, or a plum.
I don't know. It's interesting.
I don't know.
Dad's gonna research that
Yeah.
theory.
That's
ובשולחן ערוך כתב להקל בבחושים, וכתב על זה הרמה בהגם, the Rama writes in his note, דווקא ריסקן. It's only if you crush them. והנה באו זרוע, וגוד אשר שם איתה דבעינן שיהיה בהם לחוכית צד. But in the original source, all it says is they have to be a little bit damp. The worms should be damp. They can't be dry worms, and the fish, oil. וכן כתב מעריקש בהגות ערך לחם כאן. אבל בשולחן ערוך השמיט דבר זה. בשולחן ערוך doesn't mention not that it has to be damp and not that it has to be crushed. He doesn't say any of those things. Who says that it has to be crushed?
Ramah.
Rama. And who says that it has to be damp? The
Part
source he's quoting. But in the Shulchan Aruch, he doesn't write that. ואם בדברי החמודות, and look in the book דברי חמודות, and he quotes יבינו סחאות שונות בזה, he quotes a few different versions. ושיש גרסה שאין צריך שיהיה בהם לחוכית, and there is a version that says that it doesn't have to be moist. So it could be that the Maran chose to skip it, but rather in Maran's version of the book, it didn't have that word.
What is moist if it's ground up?
Just add water.
It's in the water. It's moist.
Oh, it could be those, there's these big green figs. You know, those have a lot more liquid in them.
Liquid content, yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, when he says you have to, the crushed worms are no worse than snow, I think he means that the snow has to be, before you use it to wash it can't be a clump. It has to be somewhat liquidy when you use it to wash your hands. I believe that
Oh,
might
so
be
you're
what
just
he's
talking
saying.
about like texture, not
He's talking about
quality.
texture
you
and not
can't.
not that there's no difference in worms and snow. I think that now that I'm
Oh.
reading it, that's what it seems like to me.
It's a graininess texture issue.
Yeah.
Well, somebody say washing with snow itself is like washing with worms. It's not washing with water,
Mm-hmm.
maybe.
So it's got to be melted, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at the last line on page 200, the last two lines in brackets. ומפני שאין דבר זה מצוי כלל, לא כתבתי בזה למעלה. Because these things are not at all relevant, I chose not to write about it. I mean, you see there's no commentary on Halacha Yud on page 200? This is because who uses worms or fish oil to wash their hands? It's not a
Yes.
thing, and therefore I didn't feel I need to codify it. That's what he writes here. It's very interesting. I think in general, when it comes to halachot, it's important to know what to focus on. You could focus on everything. You could sit on halachot forever and ever and ever. But when will you learn the halachot you need to know? That's only if you focus on what needs to be learned. There's a famous in the Chovot HaLevavot, I quoted earlier. He quotes there a certain Chacham, and by the way, I'm not sure that when he quotes a Chacham, he's not talking about himself or his teacher. I don't know the rules of Chovot HaLevavot. Who does he refer to when he quotes the old sage? But this is a young student who was sitting with this old sage, and the old sage is not so old. He's maybe in his 40s. But that was old. I mean, that life expectancy is short, so he was an old Chacham at that point.
Wow.
And he asked him a question about the laws of Gitin, divorce. A very theoretical question, not a practical question, like what if scenario. And I mean the words, I don't have it in front of me right now, but the words that he uses to scream at his student is what? You finished learning the whole Torah? I'm 35 years learning Torah day and night, and I never had enough empty time in my life to think about such a stupid question like that. So when did you have time to think about theoretical? Have you finished all the practical first? And by the way, the whole thing about like putting down the student who asked the question, that's not the point of the story. The point of the story, we already have our rabbis tell us that in a Baishan Lamed, a shy person can't be a student, and in a Kapdan Lamed, and a strict teacher cannot be a teacher. That's not the point. The point of the story was, did you finish learning everything you need to know? Then now you could sit around and create what-if scenarios.
Yeah.
You know, now I have this forum on Facebook. People ask a lot of questions, and recently a lot of kashrut questions have come through. And a lot of these what if the machinery was used for X, Y, and Z? What if it was mixed with what if and what if and what if and what if? And the question is, since when did what if become a halachic part of the equation? What if maybe the other way? What if it wasn't used hot? What if the machine is not used for something? What makes your what if better than my what if? In halakha, we don't have time for the theoretical. Halakha's focused very much on the practical. And the Chachamim and those who are serious Chachamim always focused on reality. What could be real? And that's a very important musal. Is when you learn, you don't have forever on this earth. You have to choose, what do I have time to learn? And sometimes I see that people spend a lot of time learning things that they just, it doesn't do anything for them. It doesn't give them anything. Because yes, other people think it's important for you to learn that. But it's not what you need to be learning right now in your life. Sometimes people ask me a question and I'll tell them, not here, on the internet I hear that a lot. And I see they're so worried about a stringency that was invented 20 years ago somewhere. But the actual halakha they don't know. That it's really sad because it's not their fault. Simply in their choice of Jewish education that they had, someone chose to, hey, this is not that important. But this checking the letters for bug, oh, that's already a whole new... Something shifted in the way people study. In general, whenever I meet someone who tells me, oh, I'm a Kabbalist. Okay? You're a Kabbalist. Let me ask you a question about the Chumash. What last week's Parsha? Let's talk about last week's Parsha. It's okay if you don't know last week's Parsha. But you can't not know last week's Parsha and be a Kabbalist. You can't know extra credit if you didn't pass the test. And oftentimes we have this problem. We have this, I see people that are going around, the basics they don't have. And it's time to tell people, hey, it's time to go back to learn halachot, real halachot. What does halakha mean? You really want to be able to know how to do something. You want to know how to not have to ask every question. You have your own wealth of knowledge. Even when it comes to other things like Chumash, like Parasha, so how much of the Parasha I'm going to learn? There are parts of Parasha that are not relevant. I have to skip them. Not because it's not important. Yes, it is important, but I'll come back to it when I finish learning what I need to learn. You learn Gemara. The Gemara starts again a theoretical conversation about sacrifices. Intellectually, it might be stimulating, but at a certain point you have to say, okay, so I spent 20 minutes on this. How much long? I could spend 3 years on it, but it's not going to help me. I'm not going to bring a sacrifice tomorrow anymore. This is not the prevalent attitude in the Jewish community, and you see the result of that. The result is that people know a lot about nothing, and not enough about things they need to know about. And part of this kola, part of what we're trying to learn together is we want to be those people who remember, even if we don't remember everything we've learned, but we remember that we did have a conversation about this. Remember that there is a place that we can go look these things up. It's very important. It's very, very important.
Sometimes there's a logical process that helps you solve other problems that are practical.
Yes,
too.
this I'll give to you. There are times where, and that is, by the way, the Chazon Ish writes this. The Chazon Ish writes about the yeshiva students in the Lithuanian yeshivot. He says, all day long they're sharpening their mind by saying Talmud, sharpening their mind. He says, but when will they ever use their mind? This was his question. When will you use your mind? Now, Chazon Ish was a Lithuanian rabbi himself. And he sees value in the sharpening of your mind. Of course that's important. But when the sharpening of mind becomes the end goal and using the mind never happens, that's when we start to get into problems. There's a story about the Rambam. Not a story, it's not like a, I believe he wrote this about himself, or his son wrote this about him, where the big critique on him was he didn't give sources for what he wrote. You find in the Rambam's letters that he regrets that he didn't give sources. Not for you, but for him. He didn't write Mishnah Torah overnight. He would write a chapter or a section and then send out many copies of those to different communities around the world. And then he read another
So it's like
section.
a peer
And,
review.
yeah, and so many rabbis would write to him, oh, this is an amazing thing, but Halakha 13 in chapter 2, where did you get that from? It's not in the Talmud that we have in front of us. But the Rambam is already 13 volumes later at this point in time. He doesn't remember what. Sometimes people ask me a question in my book. Which edition of the book did you quote that from? I don't remember. I gave you a page number and I gave you a book. I don't remember. It's 2012. I mean, it's a long time ago for me. And it's a problem because if I don't know it, how do you expect someone else to know? The Rambam writes that. He says, if I don't know my sources, how can I expect someone else doesn't know my sources? So he writes that about one source that really bothered him because he looked in the Babylon, it wasn't there. He looked in Yerushalmi, it wasn't there. It was a law in the matter, let's say, I'm just going to example, it was a law in the matter of Gitin. He looked in Gitin, it wasn't there. He looked in the laws of marriage, it wasn't there. He looked in the laws of Yibum, it wasn't there. And the Rambam was like going through entire tractates of the Talmud. He's not looking at the kids of Shulchan Aruch. And then he says he comes across like Masechet Megillah. But it's there. On one page, there was this halakha. And when the Rambam wrote this book, he was not just studying this limited Gitin, because clearly there are laws of Gitin scattered elsewhere. And that's where Zev's right. Right, there is, in the breadth of information, you also are able to come back and have a broader understanding of something. But the question is, how long do you go broad before you spread yourself too thin? It's a balance. It's a balance. That's why every yeshiva has a Rosh Yeshiva, and the Rosh Yeshiva's job is supposed to be to balance the curriculum in such a way that you accomplish a lot while not losing focus. And sometimes the Rosh Yeshiva himself doesn't know how to either accomplish a lot or to focus, depending on the yeshiva. And those healthy Rosh Yeshiva are who we're trying to find. There are healthy, and there were always healthy Rosh Yeshiva that guided their students in the right direction.